Welcome gents and gentlewomen, today is Wednesday, we have gotten our reset day, our last reset day of Shadowlands in Europe as well. And what we have for today is a talk, is a short, small guide about dragon riding. Why? Because even though you're going to be leveling, the first thing you do in Dragonflight, the very important part of your leveling process will be dragon riding. And believing that you can simply leave the things about dragon riding for when you are at max level and just worry about leveling would be a mistake, because the dragon riding you unlock very early on in your leveling experience is a very gimped, a very default and basic version of your final form of dragon riding, which is arguably worse than your standard flying mount. What am I talking about? So, small spoilers, as soon as you land in Dragonflight, you will be landing here in the Waking Shores, you will be landing at the Wingrest Embassy, you will be doing 5 to 6 quests there until you are sent to the Ruby Life Pools, the quest hub of the Red Dragonflight. In there, you will be taught dragon riding. That default base dragon is terrible, because it only has 3 vigor points, which are the points you need to spend to actually get up in the air and start flying. And those points only regenerate once you're on the ground and only once every 30 seconds. So with 3 points, okay, we can say 4 points because the first talent points will be given to you basically for free, so you will get 4 vigor points. But with 4 vigor points regenerating once every 30 seconds, things will get annoying quite quickly. Because imagine you're questing, imagine you just defeated a mob here and you want to defeat the mob over there. Well, I'm not gonna walk all the way over there, so I'm going to leap to reach this mob. And then once you defeat this mob and maybe a mob that's over here, you're like, well, I have to go over there, so let's just fly over there. You take it down and now it's time to go inside this building. Well, let's just fly inside the building. Then you're done. You fly back to the mobs that respawn here. Eventually, you will find this whole process a little bit more draining than once every 30 seconds that your vigor regenerates to. So, what happens once you have done leveling in this area and you want, for example, to go all the way up to this quest hub? Well, you can try to go up with your final vigor point, but now you are out of vigor. And you can't go up anymore, and that's just... Let's try to go down, gather some speed, and then go up again. No, it doesn't work. So you will find yourself in these type of situations quite often if you remain with your default standard dragon. Which is why the suggestion for today is to take some 30-ish minutes away from your leveling experience and spend some time to gather some dragon glyphs. Dragon glyphs are what you will be able to gather to get skill points for your dragon. Once you have gathered all of them in all of the zones, you will have all of the talent tree available for you to collect. 1 and 2, there you go, the dragon is complete. Now, worth remembering everyone, this is account wide. So you only have to do this once ever on your main character, supposedly, to be able to do this on your other characters. For example, this is a level 62 rogue. I haven't even gotten to Azure Span. It's completely covered in fog, yet I have all of the dragon glyphs over there because it's account wide and I did this on my other character. So once you do this, it's going to be available to all of your other characters and it will be able to give you the full power of your dragon. Now, you don't need to get all of the talent points right as you start leveling, right as you start the expansion. You can get, halfway through, more or less, to get a good enough amount of power to make it more smooth, to be able to fly and not having to worry nearly as much about your vigor points and running out of steam on your dragon. For example, the absolute best points you can get as you start flying are going to be these 2 right here. Thrill Chaser, Thrill of the Skies generates 1 vigor every 10 seconds, and then the upgraded version, Thrill of the Skies, generates 1 vigor every 5 seconds. What this means, very simply, is that Thrill of the Skies is the buff you get once you're going at fast enough speed. Fast enough speed, you can use weak auras like this one to show you this line right here. As soon as you're above that, your vigor will be regenerating once every 5 seconds. This is essentially the permanent flying talent, where I can dump all of my vigor. Now I have no more vigor, and I can simply go at full speed and gain a lot of vigor back as I am flying. This will basically allow you to fly forever if you so wish. This makes it much easier for you to level, because you don't have to worry pretty much ever again about your vigor, first of all. But you don't have to get that deep, okay? You don't have to spend that much time to go through every single zone and gather every single skill points right as you start leveling. My initial suggestion would be to start on the first 2 zones, the Waking Shores and on Aram Plains, and gather the 24 skill points available in these 2 zones, because on those 24 you will be able to get all the way up here. You will be able to get the 1 vigor every 20 seconds instead of every 30 when you're on the ground, as well as the Thrill of the Skies with 1 vigor every 10 seconds. So this would be good enough to get you on a decent flying level on your dragon without having to go all the way deep down here. Also because, admittedly, it's gonna be quite challenging, okay? You might get baited by some of the guides that will tell you very quick and very easy way to get all of the skill points. Just follow this 20-minute route throughout the entire continent. The reality is, if you have not been in the beta, if you have not checked and seen where these dragon glyphs are, you are very likely going to be confused and mess the route and mess up and end up on the ground with 0 vigor, lost in the middle of nowhere, having to wait for 3 minutes to get all of your vigor back and try to start again. So it might be some time-consuming affair, rather than just stopping at the first 2 zones. Get a good enough amount of power on your dragon before you can continue your leveling. The dragon glyphs in question for this leveling of your dragon are found and look like this one right here. Technically speaking, they look golden. The reason why this one is white is because I have already gotten all of the dragon glyphs, which means I see them as white, but they are golden. They will give you an achievement and also a skill point. Now, how do you find them? How do you list them all to get a good track of where they are? Simple. The first solution would be to use handy notes. Handy notes with the plugin for dragon glyphs. This one has the benefit of being able to choose if you want to show the one you have already collected or not. So I am showing all of them because otherwise you wouldn't see anything, because I have collected them all. But it's going to be pretty handy if you are just starting, for example. You will be able to see which ones are still left in each zone. So you will be able to select a route, to pick them all up in a certain zone. Or you can go for the more techy kind of way, which will be to use TomTom. I'm leaving behind a link with all of the coordinates in every single zone. So what do? Is you open your macro, you copy, and then you paste these coordinates until you have space in your macro. You paste them all in for the Waking Shores, for example, right here, and then the second part of the Waking Shores right here. And then you put them in your action bars, and then you input them. Now you get your TomTom giving you a waypoint to every single one of your dragon glyphs. So you can, for example, select this one, set as waypoint, and then you can start to go for that one. You're gonna be picking that one up, you're gonna be aiming, then and the next one being this one right here, for example. So as you approach this dragon glyph, which in my case I know it's here because I've done this before, but players who have not really gotten there before might get confused, for example, which is why I said it's risky to go for a full run on your first try. Same goes for this one. This might also be quite tricky for certain players. The highest point in the entire map to get that one. Then you make a turn to go all the way over this one right here, right? And that's how you go around the entire zone and pick up all of your dragon glyphs. As I said, I would stop personally at the first 2 rather than having to try to do the whole run. But if you're feeling it, if you think you have a good control of your dragon, so to speak. Oh, wait, sorry, I wanted to stop. If you think you have a good control of your dragon, then go for it. Either way, it's still going to be better than continuing to level with your gimped, untalented version of a dragon. It is definitely going to be worth to spend a few minutes, 30 minutes if you're fast, an hour if you're a little bit slower, to go and pick up all of these glyphs right here. as we are 1 week away from the release of the expansion, and many players, because I have read this type of comment before, are not really putting that much attention on Dragon Riding. They believe it might be some sort of, end game extra feature, some sort of thing you might do when you kind of have nothing else to do at end game, when in reality it's going to start much earlier than that. It's going to start literally 30 minutes into your leveling progression in Dragonflight. You will get to deal with Dragon Riding, so I think it's going to be quite important to get your dragon to a leveled up enough state that is not going to be nearly as frustrating to play. As I said, I'm going to leave behind the links, at the very least the links to handy notes and the plugin for the dragon glyphs, as well as the link to TomTom and the link to all of the coordinates you have to copy and paste into a macro to make them show up in TomTom. Also, I'm going to leave behind the links to the WeCords. These two WeCords you're seeing right here, the Dragon Riding UI and the extra one from Darian, are the ones you're seeing here, covering multiple things from Dragon Riding, like the cooldowns of Whirling Surge and Bronze Time Lock, as well as the more important one, the speed required to get Thrill of the Skies, right here, the one to give you the Vigor regen. That's the most important thing you have to keep track of when you're Dragon Riding. So I'm gonna leave behind the infos, but this was a general list of things you should take care of as soon as Dragonflight launches to make sure that you have a workable, properly functioning dragon right as the expansion launches. And also, don't worry, you only have to do it once. Everything in here will be account wide, so once you have gotten these dragon glyphs on your main, you won't have to do it on any of your alts ever again. So that was the infomercial for today about Dragon Riding. I'm going to leave you now to the rest of your Wednesday. Thanks, of course, starting as usual with my Patreon supporters for supporting me and contributing to the growth of myself and this channel. You can also support in other ways, not including the expenditure of monetary goods, like liking and commenting down below on this video, as well as subscribing to the channel itself. Lastly, for more social interactions, I am found on Twitter to be followed, possibly not stalked, as well as you can subscribe to my Patreon right over at these two links. And now, as an extra, as a new entry, I am also found on Twitch at izenart as well. I will be starting to stream tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Central European time, more or less, so I'm hoping to see many of you over there as well. With this out of the way, thank you guys again for watching, see you guys soon, and in the meantime, I believe this will be the first and last time you will see myself in a video piloting a Vulpera character. This was a mistake.